Well, okay. Well, maybe we should start with the big goings on over at Stellantis.
Yeah.
Stellantis. I keep hoping all this hiring and firing and resigning and stuff is gonna somehow redound to me like getting a job.
Well, that was my first thought. I mean, when I saw that, like, what's his name, Carlos Tavares, the embattled Stellantis CEO, who had declared that he was on his way out, but he was going to stick around through 2025 and I don't know
2026.
And
So much for that.
oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
And then just like as of yesterday, just said, yeah, fuck this.
Well,
I'm out.
apparently
Or maybe he was pushed.
I texted somebody today about it. I said, "What's the backstory on Carlos Tavares?" And he said he was fired, or he quit before he was going to get fired. And I said, "Why was he getting fired?"
Yeah.
And he said he had pissed off all of the suppliers and all of the dealers globally. Quite an achievement. I mean, that's a lot of fucking people.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we'll get into this in terms of Stellantis's global reach, but yeah, that's a lot of suppliers and a lot of dealerships in a lot of different countries.
Yeah, very impressive. I guess the board hated him too.
But yeah, my first thought when I saw that was, oh, that'd be a good job for Rory.
It really would be. And I mean, I don't think you're joking. I think we all know.
No, I thought
it'll be a good job for me. I'm sure Carlos is going to be very handsomely rewarded on his way out the door. We thank him for his several years of service. What is it? 5 years? 4 years of service? It's not too bad.
Yeah, 5. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and did I see that like his compensation last year was like $40 million?
Yeah. Not really sweating it too much.
And that's
I'm sure.
And that's just in 1 year, you know?
Well, that probably doesn't even account for all of it. I mean, I've definitely known automaker CEOs, what they get reported is like what they have to report, and there's a lot of other types of compensation for that. So I think he'll be fine. Like I said, I wish him the best in future endeavors. I will tell you, if I was 60-something years old and I got bounced out of my CEO job and I made $40 million next year, my future endeavors would be quite limited. I would not be having a lot of future endeavors, really.
No. Yeah, I would be fucking off.
Can you imagine even having $1 million? I mean, in my position, I'm like, wow, $10,000 would change my life forever very quickly.
Yeah,
and people are like, $1 million would do it. And this guy's like failing into 40 mil and just like, you know what? It's been cool. It's been real. I'm going to take my watch. I'm going to go. Like,
Yep.
oh, fuck.
But what I'm more curious to see is his the severance package, like what he gets on the way out the door.
Yeah,
that
I
he
mean,
doesn't actually work for. That's just kind of like his parting
Yeah.
gift.
hey, there's nothing wrong with getting a generous severance, Peter. Let's not get too crazy.
Hey, I'm not saying anything, man.
I would say, like, from my perspective, there's 3 car companies who have kind of been on the same shit for the last decade or so. One of them being Stellantis and the other 2 being Jaguar and Nissan. Which to talk, I guess, first about Stellantis, I think like just like a severe underinvestment in product. And I think like there's this thing that car companies do where they're like, hey, we got some cars that are selling pretty well. We could right now invest in refreshing them and hoping that we will continue to have good sales on these nameplates, or we could do nothing and just see how long we can wait. Because like after a certain, like, developing a new car is hilariously, ridiculously expensive. And if you can sell that car that you've finished, right? Like if you do all the research and development, you do crash testing, you change your factories around to retool to build a new thing, all your new suppliers to get you all the new parts. If you do all that stuff and you have a finished car and then you can sell it for a really long time, obviously you can like amortize or like absorb some of that initial cost over a very long period of time, and you can make like insane profits for as long as that lasts. But the minute you start reinvesting money into new product, or the minute you start like get caught without a new product, then things start to get really, really bad. And I think like Chrysler did that, or Stellantis, I guess, did that for a very long time. You had like some of the oldest nameplates in the car business were coming out of Stellantis, like Challenger, Charger, Jeep Grand Cherokee, like big volume type products that were just like not getting substantially updated. And they did update a bunch of stuff very recently, and they did it late, but by then it's like it's tricky. Like it's like I said, you can really like cash in on that that lack of investment for a long time. But the key is to like balancing it and be able to catch it when public interest runs out, and they did not catch it. They are in very, very deep shit. I looked at so Jeep, which is like when Stellantis came together, when Chrysler and Fiat paired up, it was like
I've prepared kind of a like a backstory, for, I mean,
oh, thank God.
Yeah. So we can get to, I mean, keep going with what you're doing, but I just wanted to get it clear in my head, like,
yeah, sure.
I mean, I had a pretty good handle on it, but I had forgotten a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's a crazy story.
Well,
Mitt Romney is involved at one point, but the point is the Jeep, when this stuff all started happening, it was like unclear what Chrysler's value was. Dodge was kind of like ho-hum, but Ram and Jeep were like, it is worth like investing in or partnering with Chrysler purely for Ram and Jeep, just because they're so profitable. Yep. Like Jeep is such a blue chip brand, like one of probably the most valuable brands in the world, auto brands in the world. And Jeep, the kind of flagship, like, oh, don't worry, we got Jeep, we're fine. This is the average day supply, which means like the amount of cars that dealers have on their lots, the supply of cars that dealers have on their lots in the industry is like 81 days worth. And Jeep's is 151. So it's nearly double the industry average. And that's Jeep. Like Jeep is supposed to be the big lever where you can be like, hey, we fucked everything up and we still made money because we have Jeep. And Jeep is in deep shit, which is really, really shocking. Really, like if you're the CEO of Stellantis and that happened under your watch, you'd have to resign. You'd have to quit because you would get fired. But how do we get here, Peter?
Yeah, well, how did we get here? I mean, so I mean, I don't know that Stellantis is a name that is familiar to most non-car people, or even a lot of just car people, you know? I mean, if I went and talked to my dad and asked him, hey, man, what do you think about this Stellantis shit? I don't think he would have any idea what the hell I was talking about. Yeah. So Stellantis is a huge global corporation that came about as the result of many decades worth of mergers. I mean, this is kind of just the classic corporate consolidation.
It's the best. It's one of my favorite phenomena in business because it's like, oh man, we're failing. We're having a really hard time. What do we do? And it's like, we should find some other failing companies and kind of pile them all together.
That's exactly it.
And the idea is that you'll gain like efficiency, like you can share costs and still make the same stuff. Do you want me to explain what the name means very quickly?
Can we guess?
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
It's like it's I would guess because of the root word Stella or whatever that it's something to do with stars, and that if there's anything going on with the Antis, I don't know.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's stars and the lost city of Atlantis.
Finally.
No. Is it really?
Is it not?
No,
That was my guess.
It is, because that would be very funny.
That'd be sick.
We ended up underwater. It says, this is reading directly from the Wikipedia
Oh,
page.
I see,
which is,
yes. Oh, there's some Latin
Yeah.
grammar. Yippee.
The name comes from the Latin verb stello, in present participle with adjectival value stellens, which and carries the meaning of that brightens, is adorned, belongs with the stars.
Pay the
Sorry, that was
man.
very-
Let's
yeah, you
go.
got it.
All right.
It did immediately. I remember when this happened, the immediate response from everybody was that it sounded like an ED drug or some kind of
Totally.
some kind of sex drug.
Or do you feel like you've
yeah.
lost that spark? Try
Yeah.
ask your doctor about Stellantis.
Doesn't it? I mean,
It really does.
Honey, pass the Stellantis.
Yeah.
Give me another Stellantis. I'm ready to go again.
you've already taken 4. You can't take more than that. You're gonna have a heart attack.
It's going to be like that for 8 hours. You got to go to the urgent care. They're not going to want to hear about it.
We've tried this.
Not again.
I remember the response when this came out was like, "Oh, that's probably the Europeans. They won't actually use that. Like they won't. Like that
Right.
won't be on a sign somewhere. There's not going to be a logo."
Well,
And then we saw the sign and the logo, and it was like, "Oh, damn, they did it." But
Yeah.
in there. Wow.
Yeah, and I feel like that. Just the name itself is pretty indicative of just how kind of ill-conceived this whole thing is, and how kind of, I think, just kind of doomed it was from the start, because I just think you're trying to combine too many elements that don't really fit together. But let's go back in time, and there's 3 threads that kind of come together eventually. So we'll start with Chrysler, and actually before Chrysler. I mean we know Chrysler as one of the big 3 American manufacturers, right? I mean, for forever you've had General Motors, you've had Ford, and you had Chrysler. But back in the day, we called them the big 3 because those are the big ones. But they weren't the only ones. There were lots of other ones. If you go back far enough, I mean, everybody's heard of Studebaker or Packard. There were also there were Nashes, there were Hudsons, there were Kaisers. Kaiser, the big steel company, actually made cars for a while. And in 1954, these 2 companies, Nash and Hudson, merged, and that created a new company called American Motors, or AMC. Rory referred to Mitt Romney. It was from 54 to 62. The CEO of AMC was George Romney,
Fuck off. No way.
father of
future governor of Michigan.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate all of this already.
But Mitt was directly involved at Cerberus Capital.
Yeah, I mean, AMC was kind of like this scrappy, kind of off to the side car maker that was, through the 60s and 70s was kind of had to be resourceful and made some interesting and strange cars that filled various niche market segments that the other manufacturers were neglecting. They were selling compact cars in the early 60s.
Let's go.
Before that, they kind of anticipated the need for that, where the other manufacturers did not so much. But in 1970, they acquired Jeep from Kaiser. Kaiser owned it was
Willys.
like Kaiser Willys, right? Yeah. and they were and Kaiser just wanted to get out of making cars altogether, and so they were looking for a buyer for Jeep. So AMC took it, and that's important to the story because, as Rory was alluding to a minute ago, Jeep is has been kind of this crown jewel as just a brand, even though you think of it, it's like you think of just Jeep as rugged off-roaders, but the brand is a very potent one, and one that has been very attractive to lots of car companies. So in the late 70s, Renault comes in, partners with AMC, with some mixed results. They wanted to kind of get a foothold in the U.S. market, and maybe AMC wasn't the best way to do that.
Won Motor Trend Car of the Year.
That's right. 1983 Renault Alliance, the U.S. built Renault 9. Yeah, I remember that.
Wasn't all bad.
That was
developed the Cherokee XJ, as David Tracy would remind us, which maybe one of the all-time great cars, and a great seller too.
Yeah. And actually, like, super. I mean, that's the thing. AMC was really ahead of their time, and I mean, they were building cars that they were building 4-wheel drive family sedans that were kind of jacked up, like in the 70s.
Proto crossovers. Yeah. It had a very SUV heavy lineup. I mean, they really were like, there's a lot of like speculative fiction, or like, I forget what you call it, but like, it'd be like, alternate history type Instagram accounts that draw like, oh, what if Cadillac had an SUV in 1960? And AMC kind of was that, where it's what if a car company had a crossover lineup in 1978? It's like, no, one did, and it was it was AMC.
That's right, AMC Eagle, man. I mean, I tend to think of like the current hegemony of the SUV as kind of dating to the Ford Explorer, but in point of fact, I mean, it's the Jeep Cherokee. That was,
or the Wagoneer was the OG with the Brooks Stevens penned Wagoneer, one of the most beautiful and like longest lasting cars as far as like its time and under being manufactured. Still a car that you see in every fucking Ralph Lauren and Land's End advertisement. It is still like massively evocative shape. But go on.
Yeah.
Chevy would say the Suburban really kicked that off, by the way, but we can skip that.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms, I mean, those cars, I mean, they had existed for a long time, but as, just they weren't
your daily driver
for a specific type of family.
They were not your suburban daily driver until the Grand Cherokee Wagoneer. Yeah,
exactly. In 1987, Chrysler buys out Renault's share, and AMC gets folded into Chrysler as the Jeep Eagle division of Chrysler. For a little while there, we had Eagles, an Eagle brand that sold some both badge engineered Renaults and Mitsubishis, very confusingly, as Eagles. Anyway, if you want to get into like
it
super
was very
obscure,
weird.
Yeah.
You could buy a Dodge Intrepid with an Eagle badge. You could buy a Mitsubishi Eclipse with an Eagle badge.
Yep.
Yeah. You could buy
the Eagle Talon.
Yeah. You could buy
and the Eagle Premier. That's to me that's like the most cult one. Or actually, oh no, there's the Renault Medallion. Was that the same as the Eagle Premier? I think it was. I think they're Renault 21s. Anyway,
for people who still want me to reveal my secret cool collector car, we are very near my secret cool collector car at the moment.
Ooh.
My sub $1,500
Oh,
collector
the one
car.
you wouldn't say on air.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Ooh, getting closer.
Ooh, I get.
You're not gonna.
Oh,
You'll not guess it. I promise.
I mean, it can't be any of those cars because
No.
there are none of them still exist.
Nope.
But maybe, are you talking about like a Renault Encore or something like that?
No, it's not French.
Okay.
Peter's putting a little Guess
Okay,
Who
interesting.
thing down in the corner, like it's not French.
I got it. Yeah. Okay. So now Chrysler has Jeep in their portfolio. In 1998, you have the Daimler Chrysler merger.
Merger of equals.
Daimler, yes, the quote unquote merger of equals. Daimler Benz, which is the parent company of Mercedes, they buy in Chrysler and Mercedes basically become one car company. Again, very strange. This lasted until 2007. In 2009, Chrysler's in pretty dire straits. You think about what was going on in 2009. There were a lot of people in trouble. They declared bankruptcy in 2009, and in 2014, Chrysler is bought by Fiat and becomes FCA, which is Fiat Chrysler Automobiles.
We did. Just point of fact, we did. American taxpayers did bail out Chrysler in.
We did
when
yes.
they went bankrupt. So you, American citizen, American taxpayer, can take a little bit of joy and a little bit of pride in the success of our project together of saving this great American corporation.
Yay.
Saving the Jeep nameplate
until now, until a few years later, when once again.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what is well, anyway, all right. So that's one thread. Let's move continents. Now we're in Italy.
Ready?
I'm on it.
Fiat, which is just this gigantic car company, gigantic industrial giant, a titan of the 20th century. They in 1960 they kind of go on. I mean, you have a bunch of there's a bunch of car companies in Italy, large and small. Fiat's the big daddy, and starting in the 60s, Fiat's kind of the rest of them all have kind of trouble staying solvent, right, over time, and Fiat just starts snapping them up. And in 1968, they get Lancia. In 1969, they buy into Ferrari. 1986, they take over Alfa Romeo. And in 1993, they take over Maserati. So all of these Italian car companies basically become Fiat. And then, of course, in 2014, they buy Chrysler, and now we have FCA. Skip over to France. Here we have Peugeot. The oldest car company in the world, which I didn't realize, just in terms of the age of the company. They haven't been making cars longer than anybody, but the company itself was established in 1810, and they made bikes and other stuff. But they started building cars in the late 1800s. And kind of similar thing, some of the other French manufacturers struggling a bit. In the 1970s, Peugeot acquires Citroën, the iconic maker of just some of the most advanced and cool, insanely cool cars ever. So Peugeot and Citroën are now under the same umbrella. This becomes PSA. The P is Peugeot, and the SA is just Société Anonyme Anonyme, which is just like incorporated, I guess, in France. In 1978, they acquire Chrysler Europe, which is the Simca brand in France, which I feel like we've talked about before, and the Roots Group based in the UK, which included Hillman. They rebadged some of these cars as Talbots in France. Along comes Carlos Tavares in 2015 at Peugeot. His first brilliant idea is to create a Citroën spin-off brand called DS. The Citroën DS from the 1950s is like one of their most iconic and
wonderful,
just
beautiful, wonderful,
fantastically awesome cars. I think one of the coolest cars of all time. Kind of my like of all the, like, I mean, I have a list of dream cars that are completely unattainable in terms of attainable cars. Man, I really want to see Citroën DS. I just think they're so insanely cool. But as a kind of spin-off trim, like they were using it as a trim level, and then it's like, oh, we'll just make it like a standalone brand. It'll just be like sporty Citroëns will be DSs, which I don't know. I think that's kind of a lame. It's like, leave DS alone. Let DS be.
It's kind of, they're
Citroën
like
DS be the
design driven and like more avant-garde type brand, right? It's like,
kind of, but it's like, but even that, just like it tells you how cheap it is, because it's like Citroëns were really avant-garde. You know, I mean, the like one of their cars was called the Traction Avant.
Yeah.
Right? And, which just means front wheel drive, but I mean, those cars were genuinely, I mean, the cars themselves were avant-garde.
Technologically, they were, way out there.
And this is just, you know, it's avant-garde in this kind of like, oh, we'll just, you know, it'll be like a little bit more stylish than the other cars that are all kind of boring and generic now. You know, it's kind of a shame, I think. Anyway, so, and then in 2017, weirdly, PSA acquires Vauxhall and Opel, which are General Motors' European brands. Vauxhall is GM in Great Britain, and Opel was General Motors
Germany
in Europe, mostly in Germany. Yeah. So now you have this Peugeot conglomerate that includes Citroën, includes some stuff they inherited from Chrysler.
Do you want me to list it off right now?
What's that?
The 14 brands.
Oh, we're not there yet.
Okay.
We're not there yet because well, in 2019, and this is where everything comes together, Fiat Chrysler acquires PSA. So you got your whole your Fiat portfolio and Chrysler portfolio, which had become one thing under FCA. That now merges with Peugeot and all of its brands, and here we have Stellantis. And yes, Rory, let's hear the brands.
The 14 brands: Abarth, Alfa Romeo, Chrysler, Citroën, Dodge, DS, Fiat, Jeep, Lancia, Maserati, Opel, Peugeot, Ram, and Vauxhall. The 14 brands of Stellantis.
And it's like, it's the most fucking completely incoherent. There's so much redundancy. There's so much, there's I mean, it's like none of this fits together in any way that could possibly make sense. I would argue.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the hope again was like, look, we have this is again just I'm reading, but they had 300,000 employees, sales presence in more than 130 countries, manufacturing in 30 countries. So they were hoping that by bringing all these companies together they could realize efficiencies in manufacturing and shipping and sales and all the kind of hard costs that are associated with building cars. But as every company who's ever tried to do this has found, that is so hard to do. Like that is such a monumental task. There's really only been a couple of examples that were successful, notably Nissan, somewhat recently in the early 2000s. But if you imagine that task on paper, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. We will share some platforms. We'll realize or utilize like our economies of scale to drive down prices with suppliers, yada yada yada. But if you think about like the actual nuts and bolts of 14 companies all over the world who have been operating independently or somewhat independently or whatever for however long they've been operating, all the people, all the managers, all the bosses, all those people, trying to get them on the same page and trying to, like, if you've worked in an office of any kind before, you know this is fucking impossible. Like it is a massively complex and difficult task, but they tried to do it, and here we are.
They tried to do it, and the thing is, I mean, so many of those brands that you just listed, barely exist. You know, at this point. I mean, Chrysler
has one car.
I mean, they sell one model. Yeah. Right? There's a Chrysler Pacifica, the minivan. That's the only thing in a Chrysler dealership. You know, Lancia, which and I mean, it kills me because I mean, again, you know, like Citroën, Lancia is this brand with just an incredible history of technological innovation and some of the raddest cars ever.
Yeah. Big and rally.
I mean, going way back too.
B20s and I mean, yeah, going way back to early times. But yeah, some of the coolest, best styled. I mean, all timers. Like a whole list of weirdly like different, you know, like 037, B20. I mean, there's just a bunch of different. Products that kind of span different segments and different like use cases or whatever that are all just like super. I mean
50s Lancia Appias that are just like these little 4-door sedans with like suicide doors in the back and totally pillarless. Like there's no and they're so freaking cool, and front wheel drive and like little tiny like V4 and like narrow angle V4 engines and just all, like some of the coolest stuff ever. And this brand that just kind of like, you know, kind of as happens when these things get snatched up by outside companies or whatever, and they just get kind of neglected, and there's been no new launches for 15 years now, and it's like and at one point and actually, oh my god, you know, when I one of my favorite things when I went to that that Maserati, one of the things that excited me, that was most exciting to me when I went on that Maserati press trip, Rory, that you sent me on, was I got to ride in a Lancia badged minivan, Dodge Caravan. And it's like, you know, like how the people were doing, like, you know, like when they were selling the like the Chevy SS here, or the Pontiac whatever it was, which were you know, rebadged Holden, you know, Holden big V8 cars from Australia, and people here would want to get the you know, the Holden front end, you know, just the front
Holden
fascia
badge,
and just kind of, you know, redo it as a Holden. And of course the people in Australia are doing the same exact thing, except they think it's cool to have like Pontiac badges or Chevy badges or whatever. But the thing that I wanted to do was get a fucking Chrysler Grand Caravan and get Lancia badges for it, and get the Lancia front end and have the grill.
The pie in the sky idea is like, we're going to share all this manufacturing and we're going to like realize all these massive efficiencies. And it's like, what'd you end up doing? Well, we put a Lancia badge on a Dodge Caravan. It's like, how's that grab you? Like, well, I mean, and they did a lot of other platform sharing and some other stuff. It's just it is very funny. I mean, I think like this probably won't be a very controversial statement, but I think like it would be in the auto industry more broadly. But I think like so many of these problems are, and so many of the problems that car makers have experienced in the late 20th and early 21st centuries are about accountability to investors and boards and to like the way that capitalism works now. Because I think like a lot of the success that automakers had in the there's a lot of obviously like bigger macro factors to this, but like companies that are big and complex, I think, need to be able to set a long-term plan and follow the plan over the course of long-term, obviously making adjustments here and there or whatever, but they need to have like a long-term vision. And I think what you see in this story of Chrysler from the 70s until today, and you see in a lot of other car companies, a lot of other American car companies, is this immediate accountability to their boards and to investors, where they say like, here's the plan, and then they have a bad year and it's like, we scuttled the plan, we start over. Or like we made a big moonshot like merger or whatever. And it's like this era, I think, of car making is like mostly defined by panics and like short-term market panics, or sometimes like big macro recession or whatever that drives. But it's like you can never just steer the ship in the way that like car companies would have been steered in the 50s and 60s or in the 40s, where you just had like a long-serving CEO or president or whatever who would just be like, this is what we do, this is our brand proposition, these are the types of cars that we sell, and here's our customers, and this is like this is what it is. And it's like every now it's like every few years these companies are reinvented, and you get to a point where like the individual brands don't mean much to consumers, and consumers don't really understand what they're about.
No, exactly. I mean, the whole thing gets just diluted and to the point where it's like, yeah, why would anybody care, or even, you know, it's like you just lose track. You're like, look, if I'm a fucking car person, you know, I care about this stuff kind of, and I have a hard time following all of it. You know, it's like, I don't, you know, what the it's like, and at a certain point, it's just, you just check out. And I think for the car buying public, you know, it's even more so. And I mean, there's a reason that, like, I mean, the kind of stability that you're talking about, I think about like sports teams and team uniforms, you know, and like talking about brands, right? You know, I mean, it's like the reason that the Yankees, the New York Yankees, are such a just iconic globally recognized brand, is because they haven't changed their shit for a century. You know, it's just like at all. Like they just leave it alone. And I mean, I'm not a Yankees fan, but it's like, respect
I hate
for
the
that,
Yankees.
man. And
no.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. But you know, and you know, versus like a team like, you know, I mean, the San Diego Padres, who I do like, but like the thing that they're kind of most famous for is like, yeah, we just change our shit every couple of years. We don't really care, you know.
It's a discipline thing, and it is like I said, it's like it's so funny because you have these big, like, impossible to steer organizations, 300,000 employees, whatever, 30 countries, 130 countries, 30 manufacturing facilities globally. That is an impossible thing to manage, especially if you change the plan every few years, or if you if you have a down year, and it's like, it's like this era of panic where it's just like, oh shit, you know, like, okay, Tesla's stock prices at $600 a share. We got to build EVs. It's like, okay, we're going all in on EVs. Oh God, EVs aren't selling. We got to build hybrids. It's just like panic. Right. It's like nobody knows what they're about. Nobody knows. Nobody has and it's like, whatever. It's not a person's fault. Like that's how the incentives are aligned, right? Like if you don't do this, if you're not accountable to those outside people, you get fired. and you have to resign or whatever, or like a million people lose their jobs, or like bad shit happens. But it's like it is an impossible, I think, to me it seems like an impossible set of circumstances in which to run like a huge company that size. I mean, it just seems
Yeah.
a nightmare.
Does this tie into what we've talked about with Toyota having kind of like not only the fact that their sort of corporate governance is this like we have a long-term plan kind of thing, but like when you see something like them refusing to go all in on EVs and saying we are going to do something else, do you think that correlates?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's
Totally.
yeah, that's Toyota and Honda. And it's, you can see this.
Yeah, they are the counterexample.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's mostly
sure.
like this problem happens mostly. It's companies that are very shareholder driven. So like Toyota, obviously, like not the case. Hyundai, Kia, not the case. Daimler, more so the case. BMW, less the case. And like you can see the companies that kind of shift on the wind, like from year to year. I think that correlates very strongly with like how accountable they are to their shareholders and to like kind of short-term swings in the markets. But
Yeah.
It's like the moral of the story is that if you want to succeed at capitalism, you have to be less
Reactive.
yeah,
you have to you have to step back
Yeah.
from your capitalist imperatives.
yeah, which is impossible. It's like it's almost like there's a contradiction inherent in the system.
Perhaps if that contradiction were to be heightened, I wonder.
Some of the pulling my collar. Some of these contradictions are becoming pretty heightened.
Oh.
Yeah, what happens when the contradictions just become too great?
I guess we'll see, or we won't. I don't know.
Well-
Maybe we'll all be dead by then. Yeah.
Good luck to all. Good luck to all Stellantis devoured marks.
Yeah,
maybe
I mean,
someday see a
I
cool
think-
Lancia again someday.
I think there is something to like. It is like very easy to be flip about this, and it's like, whatever. I don't work for a car company. I don't root for a car company, but all this stuff, all of this shifting, and all of these like panic moves, do cost real people who have mortgages and families and stuff their jobs, and like increasingly, other places it's just hard to get jobs. Like there's not a lot of these types of jobs out there. And, it's like, whatever, should you feel super sorry for people who are white collar workers or whatever at car companies or who have good union jobs on an assembly line? Like you could say there's other people who have it harder. That's certainly the case, but it does suck. Like, and there is a real like human individual cost to all this kind of flip flopping and direction changing. And it's not to say like, whatever, the people in charge are bad and they're doing it on purpose and they don't care. I think they probably do care to a degree. It's just, again, this is the way the incentives are aligned, and this is the way this is the way it goes. Like, this has been the last 30 years of industry in the United States. So
The precariat gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. Everybody in, join me.
now's a great time to buy a Jeep. If you're looking to buy a Jeep, get a great deal.
Yeah, all I know about Nissan is just the kind of headlines that we've been hearing that
Sounds bad.
12 to 14 months to live.
Yeah,
It sounds like they've been
their CFO quit
they've been
today.
given a pretty brutal diagnosis.
Doctor, my son.
They're looking for a partner. They're looking for some outside investment. They said they've lowered their profit projections by 70%, 70%. Not good. Reported a
Jesus Christ.
$60 million
That's a big number.
quarterly loss last last quarter, 60 million the quarter.
Yeah.
Sanshiro Fukao, a senior fellow at the Itachi Research Institute, wrote, quote, "If I were an employee of Nissan today, I would be too embarrassed to tell my children and parents about my company. I feel sorry for everyone involved with Nissan." Which is too bad.
It's Rory's favorite car company.
And I do have some friends who work there. I honestly like it, and I do love Nissan, but I think like it is like right now Nissan's like core proposition of like what they are as a company, if you go back, it is such a good time for that proposition where it's like, if you were to go, and I don't know what they're doing, I should talk to them about this, but I don't know what their actual plan is. But if you were to go to the market with, look, we are the target of car companies. We will sell you attractive, fun cars at a reasonable price. They're not Mercedes-Benz. They're not a full luxury experience. You're not going to get a Ferrari or a Ford Mustang or whatever. But like we respect you as a customer, and we want to offer you something that's of value because we think you deserve it. Like that is a good proposition.
Yeah.
I would fucking
Cheap,
love that.
Simple, honest.
Can I get a car with the settings on car? Can you just turn the car dial all the way up to car for me?
I think Honda is doing that. Toyota is doing it to a degree, but to kind of a higher like part of the market, I guess. Like those cars are kind of expensive. Honda's less the case, but like, you know, even most of the Toyota stuff feels kind of luxurious these days in a sense. Like they're very feature rich. But I think like if you were to take that to market today with like everyone's number one complaint about cars is they're too fucking expensive and I can't afford a car. And like Nissan is in such a good position. I feel like, you know, better than Mitsubishi because Nissan does have like some brand value, some cachet. People remember Nissan. But it's like if you were to take that to market, I feel like that's a winner. Obviously, like tough to do. You know, like you're kind of you're kind of banking. I remember somebody. I probably shouldn't talk about this, but I went to a meeting at Nissan a couple of years ago, and I asked the guy I was meeting with, who buys a Nissan? Like, who's your buyer? And he said, someone who can't get financed anywhere else. Which
my people, people.
And he was like, "We're trying to fix that. We're trying to change it, but like that's the case right now." And I think like you have to, you know, obviously like the only thing people know about Nissan today, I think, is that people drive Maximus and Altimus too fast, and it's like the official car of reckless drivers, which is very funny. but there is, and I like, there is such a fun, like Nissan has always been this like weird little giant killer brand where like they did cool shit with goofy little cars and delivered like a maximum value for money. Like that was the proposition, and like they were fun,
man.
And like, but classic, you know, like even like the what was the Sentra? Was the fast Sentra? Is it the SR or the Sentra? SER, yeah. Like they were
SER,
yeah, and they were cool. You know, 510s and Z's and all that stuff. Like we talked about in the other episode. I think like it's too bad. I really hope they pull it out, and I think like it would be a bummer to see them flop. It'd be a bummer to see them not come back up.
Yeah.
Speaking of people who are coming back up, Jaguar. I have a feeling my opinion on this is different than everybody else's, but long time. They're in kind of a different position. Jaguar is one of those English brands, meaning that they've always been kind of bankrupt or like on the precipice of being bankrupt. Like Jaguar has never been like a successful company, I don't think. Has there ever been a period where they were like in a secure place, like maybe the early 60s?
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
I mean, they've definitely they've had
ebbs and flows.
You know, yeah, they've had periods where they were more.
They were never really flowing though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were part of Ford for a while there.
They were buoyed by some investment when they were part of the Prestige group or whatever with Volvo and Aston Martin and Land Rover, but I don't think they really sold a lot of cars. I think the like most recent thing is like when they were acquired by Tata in like 2014 or whatever, they really put out some great cars and there was a lot of excitement around the brand, and then they just kind of languished like all three of these brands, like just kind of, and they got caught. They were slow to the SUV thing, and they had a problem too. Like, there's an inherent problem with Jaguar Land Rover. They're the same company, and it's like how much SUV can Jaguar really do when Land Rover is the other company? You know, like
exactly.
But this last week they announced a new typeface, which, if you'll note, I kind of tried to ape in the show notes. So there's a new type treatment.
Kind of Dune, isn't it? Little Dooney, little Dune logo like.
They're calling it device mark, which is very funny. They had a bunch of kind of new iconography, a bunch of people of various races and creeds in a pink and kind of what do you call that? Like what's that ice cream that everybody loves? The kind of fruity ice
Neapolitan?
cream? No. It's like not real ice cream.
Sherbet.
Sherbet.
There's kind of a sherbet palette here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like Fifth Element by Barbie.
Yeah.
Going on. Yeah.
And they immediately caught a ton of shit for it. People hate the logo. They hate the iconography. There was obviously the like woke people who were into woke stuff, and they're like, oh, some of those people are black. It's woke. There was there's a backlash. Everybody in the car industry is making fun of it. Everybody in media and whatever is making fun of it. I don't actually think it's that bad. I don't think it's like unexpectedly bad. I also think like of all of the kind of brand iconography that's out there right now, Jags was extremely dated. Like they had the little Jaguar face in a roundel that was like pointed at you, and it's like hard to tell exactly what the fuck you're looking at. Like it did need a refresh. It did need to change it more so than other car companies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing with Jaguar is that there are currently no new Jaguars being built. Like yes. they basically decided a couple of years ago,
taking a year off.
We're gonna take a gap year, but they decided that they're gonna reinvent the entire brand. They're gonna be EV only. And it's just as kind of just to do a full reset, full palette cleanse. Like they're shutting shit down, right? So there are no 2024 Jaguars that you can buy.
This automakers only do this when they're in great distress.
Well,
it's not cute,
and so it's not cute.
So
get him out of there.
So we've known for a minute that it's like, okay, well they're going all in on EVs, which they had this, what is it called, the iPace or whatever, that
early.
the electric
very early.
Jaguar, which was pretty early to market, pretty immature technologically, maybe not so great
visually,
from not competitive with EVs that are out there right now, and
really wasn't competitive
with
EVs of the time either.
Yeah. But so a couple of weeks ago there's a car, there's a reveal coming, right? Like next week.
It's happening
I think.
now. No, it's people are in Miami for it today.
Yeah, no, they've been teasing. Well, they showed some kind of quote unquote official spy pics of like a car in camouflage like last week. That did look like, it kind of had a kind of a Porsche Panamera kind of like long, low look to it. Could be cool.
Ew.
But but yeah, the campaign, the
this is a
rebranding
leak.
campaine that. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
This
Sorry, go ahead.
this is what the Cybertruck thinks it looks like, except this kind of
Yeah.
whips ass.
Yeah. I was gonna. Yeah. Go ahead, Peter.
Peter, go on.
Well, the rebrand that Rory's talking. A couple of weeks ago, they kind of unveiled this kind of like an ad campaign and the new logo and various other things. And the thing, and like as Rory was saying, like everybody just immediately was just like, "What the fuck is this?" Because it is, it's like Fifth Element shit. Yeah, I mean, but it also looks like, it totally looks like if somebody sat down to just do like a satire, like an Onion version of just like the most just completely comically ridiculous, like, what is this even a fucking ad campaign for?
Yeah.
Thing. It's so
Parody ass.
just like
yeah.
it's just like people like wearing ridiculous clothes with ridiculous haircuts and weird makeup, and just multicolored everything, and just making like really like weird severe faces, expressions, and posing in these really awkward, like, and it's just like what, and then it's like, here's like this picture of all these people. It looks like a New Order video from 1987, and it says "copy nothing" on it, right? And so there's all this, everybody just goofing on this stuff. But the funniest, like the best account of this that I found was actually an article that this guy wrote on Car Dealer Magazine .co.uk, and this is a guy named James Baggett, and this is his account. He says Jaguar unveiled a new look, logo, and direction for its cars at what was quite possibly the most bizarre automotive media launch I've ever attended. Here's what happened. Held at its Gaydon headquarters on Armistice Day, the event was hosted by Jaguar's senior team, including managing director Rodon Glover and Jaguar Land Rover's chief creative officer Jerry McGovern. Embargoed until today, the event felt like a hallucinogenic sci-fi movie where the presenters were only allowed to speak in marketing babble. Unveiling a new concept car, the details of which are still under embargo until December 3rd, so that's tomorrow as of this recording. Jaguar's passionate team spoke for most of the day about how they plan to, quote, delete ordinary and, quote, live vivid.
Live Moss.
Live Moss.
We're all living the Live Moss. We're all examples of the Live Moss lifestyle.
Yeah.
Wow.
In what at times felt like a drunken dream, Jaguar personnel walked journalists through its plans to reimagine the much-loved brand over the next few years. Calling it a complete reset, McGovern at one point told journalists that his team had, quote, not been sniffing the white stuff. This is real. And he talks about...
maybe they should have been sniffing the... I will say, for all the fluff around this, like, if they bring a car that looks kind of like this to market, I will be super impressed. And like, and I think like, pulling that off, taking a year off and restarting the brand from scratch, I will be very impressed if they do that. That is a big thing to do.
If they pull it off, I mean, yeah, same actually. And I mean, and I look, man, I like Jaguar. I root for Jaguar. I hope that they do bring some cool stuff to market. But in the meantime, this is very fun. And the guy quotes Chief Commercial Officer Leonard Hornick as saying, a good ice hockey player does not skate to where the puck is now; they skate to where it is going.
That's true,
right? So this is they're trying to anticipate. They're trying to be ahead of the curve rather than be chasing shit. And it's like, okay, well, fair enough. But the account of this launch event, at least for the brand identity, is still very very funny. He continues. After 2 minutes silence for Armistice Day, after 2 minutes silence (parentheses for Armistice Day, not Jaguar), we were moved onto a House of Mirrors style hallway, where Jaguar's brand design director Richard Stevens revealed the firm's distinct DNA, all accompanied by a frustratingly loud spa/electronica soundtrack, which you can just completely imagine.
I'm imagining this.
Yeah?
I've been to a lot of these events, and I have to
Yeah.
say, like, some of the absolute weirdest fucking experiences of my life have been at the hands of like automaker marketing people.
Yeah. But this is a guy, this is a guy writing for Car Dealer magazine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is like an industry, this is like a trade magazine. This guy's like a dealer industry guy. I would guess that he goes to as many of these things
probably,
as you do, Rory, right?
I had an experience where I was at one of these at Pebble Beach for a brand that will remain nameless right now. And I was with John Cruson, who's like he was a guy from The Onion who started writing about cars. And John and I sat in the back of the event, just cracking each other up, like losing our minds laughing. And I was like, dude, it's like, we got to write about this. And he was like, I never do. And I was like, why not? These are so funny. And he was like, because all the people who work here are embarrassed by this, and they don't need you. They don't need you, like, rubbing their face in it.
It's like everybody's just cringing and just like, oh god.
It is go.
And it's like you imagine like the head marketing guy, like the person who's in charge of this whole thing is just a total like Michael Scott character, right?
Yeah.
Like,
go ahead.
Jaguar dealers won't escape from the changes either. Not only will there be far fewer of them, around 20 in the UK, but they'll be upgraded to display pieces of art, quote, and that's in quotes, in their showrooms. Jaguar will complement its remaining few with its own manufacturer-run curated brand stores. The first will be in Paris and will neighbor the likes of Hermès, Dior, and Louis Vuitton, which this to me smacks of like, remember when Cadillac moved to Manhattan and made like a big thing about that? That's got a little bit of that vibe. Brand says dealers will bring Jaguars to their customers to view wherever that may be. If there's a problem with the cars, they'll have like-for-like mobility arranged for them. And as for servicing, that will mean cars will be collected and dropped back to them. So this sounds like they're moving way up market. Like they're going to more of like a
Rolls Royce.
Yeah, Bentley Rolls, like personal relationship with the owners kind of thing. But we'll see how that goes. It says handovers of new cars will be at customers' homes or even their favorite restaurants.
Ooh.
But Jaguar insisted its existing client base, some 240,000 Jaguar owners in the UK, will still be catered for when it comes to repairs and approved used models. So who'll be buying these new Jaguars? Well, Glover says they'll be younger, more affluent, and urban livers. They'll be cash rich and time poor. He described the new look Jaguar brand, which we were told 1,000 times would be a, quote, copy of nothing, will be, quote, exuberant, modernist, and compelling. Plus, it would have a fearless creativity to its personality. These are all words I have written down in my notebook, but don't ask me what any of it means. I'm not entirely sure Jaguar knows. With this reset of the brand, which has seen it take all new cars off sale for more than a year to give customers and dealers a fire break between old and new, the car maker has put everything on black and crossed its fingers. As McGovern says, the new direction is destined to stir the emotions, and even he knows not all of those emotions will be positive.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that's basically it. But
the funny thing, car business. This is like, again, it's probably going to prevent me from getting a couple jobs, but the level of seriousness that goes into like marketing cars, which are like whatever the second biggest purchase most people will make in their lifetimes, is so low. And like, it's because I think cars are like a less sexy thing to market. So like the best marketing talent maybe goes to like tech or whatever. And like cars are then fashion or like whatever. Cars are like way down on the list. But the stuff, if you talk to automakers, the stuff that they get pitched by their marketing agencies and like even by their internal marketing people is so insulting. Like it is so like it's degrading for me to hear it secondhand, like, or third hand or whatever. Like it is like,
wow.
It's I don't like, this does not even like, this Jag thing is obviously very silly or whatever, but it does not even register to me as like particularly bad. And it's like, if you heard the stuff that executives listen to from agencies that get paid millions, like tens of millions of dollars, to come up with ideas that are like, we did not look at any part of your business. We don't know what you make. We don't know where you make it. We don't care who your customers are. We have no interest in this whatsoever. In fact, we put the 10 dumbest people at our agency on your account. And it's like, I mean, it's shocking. I wish I could get into like, if I started naming pitches, people would know who I was talking about. But some of this stuff, it is just like, if honestly, like, I'm a pretty chill person, but if someone came into my office saying the things that I've heard said to like big automakers, I would like lose my fucking mind. I would go ballistic hearing some of this stuff. So I don't know. It's like the cruising thing, right? You kind of, this is the wrong word for it, but you kind of have to take pity, unlike the Jerry McGovern in this case.
Well,
where it's like,
yeah, but it's like, I mean, how do they allow themselves to be railroaded in that way? It's like, how do they not recognize just like, this is bullshit? It's like we've all got pretty highly developed bullshit detectors at this point.
Well, I don't know.
And
I don't know if everybody does.
I don't know.
But I think the thing of it is like, there's a lot to it. And I think, I don't want to get into a big digression at the end of the episode again, but I think the relationships between agencies and automakers are very convoluted and very tight. And I think like it's a lot of revolving door stuff where people come from agencies and go back to automakers and automakers back to agencies. And then there's like, 20 and 50 year relationships that are kind of tied up and very hard to extricate yourself from. But I also think like the level of talent overall in automotive marketing is very low. And it's like, at a certain point, you can fire your agency every year, but you're going to end up with the same bozos coming up with the same type of bullshit. Like there aren't.
It's just weird that, I mean, when you think about like just like really great ad campaigns, I mean, like think about like the old Volkswagen campaigns that we were talking about. Or just like old Mercedes ads, where
Volvo.
Just super matter of fact, really well written. Just like, I mean, the thing is, there were a lot of automotive journalists who would step over but I mean, they were writing about the cars in meaningful ways. I mean, it was a value proposition. It's like, no, we want you to understand why this car is good. And I think at a certain point, like that kind of new age of advertising where we divorce the sell from the thing that's being sold and kind of, trying to sell this image or this vibe instead. And we've talked a little bit about that too, like with, the famous Infinity campaign, where it's just like, water flowing over rocks in the forest or whatever. And it's like, there's no car in it. And, but it's like, we're selling a vibe now, but, and I think, I mean, you could make an argument that was actually an appropriate thing for that particular car, and what they wanted to do with it and how they wanted to position it. But I feel like everything has just become that, and there's so little in terms of just like you're saying, none. It's like that thing where it's like the people writing the ads should be engineers too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there should be a connection between the people that build the cars and the people that sell them in the same way that there is
not.
There is with like product planners and engineers, I guess.
And I will tell you the number of people who I've spoken to in agencies and in marketing departments who know the first thing about the product they sell is vanishingly small. Like, like 3 to 5 people in total in my entire career. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. And like the advantage to selling the vibes and to doing ads that are just vibes is that nobody has to learn anything. Nobody has to, but it is really like,
yeah, well, it's no wonder that you're all fucking going out of business because it's like, why should anybody buy any of this shit?
Yeah,
you know?
like what is good about this car, or like what is a feature about this car? Right. It would be shocking to people how few of them could name a thing, or like could even pick the car out of a lineup. Like, here are 5 cars with a badge with no badges on them. Tell me which one is the car that you work on. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think we've. Yeah, I think we've just made a great case for ourselves as tired marketing agency.
It's the tired agency, automotive marketing agency for people who understand that automobiles are bad.
That's right. Look, you shouldn't buy this car. It's way too expensive. You should be donating. You should buy a cheaper car and donate some of that money to feed people in fucking Gaza.
Yeah. It would just it would all be graphs of like, look, 2 degrees Celsius is inevitable at this point. Buy whatever fucking car you want. You got maybe 10 more good years of this planet being like this, and said fuck it, just buy whatever. Buy a boat too. Who cares?
But you should buy this one because this is your chance to enjoy it while you can. Yeah. And you might as well shoot the works.
Yep.
And get the Corvette ZR1
exactly
1,000 horsepower.
We will have to rebrand our name though, because I already booked up Tired Agency for when we solve crimes. So we can't use that one.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's a one-stop. It's a one-stop shop.
That's our cover story.
Yeah. We can do both.
We're here for marketing research. Can we ask you some questions? Don't worry about it.
Like, okay, so you didn't like our pitch. Do you have any crimes you need solved?
We can multitask.
Right, I can understand our marketing pitch was fairly negative. However,
but any petty, anything go missing? Any errors that need like
any mysteries around here? Stay tired.
Stay tired.
Stay very tired.
No problem. I'm on it.
Got it, boss. Roger Dodger.
Yeah.